Hey guys, welcome back to CLOWNFISH TV. This is Kneon. We're going to talk about the continued effects of that thing that YouTube will not allow us to talk about. You know what it is. It is in all the major headlines all around the world right now, but YouTube, for some reason, will demonetize most videos where you mention that thing by name. So I'm going to try to skirt the issue. It's going to sound ridiculous. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? So now that thing we can't talk about is taking out the cartoon industry, the animation industry, possibly, or at least weakening it a little bit. In addition to, I think, the comic book industry. I think the comic book industry is going to be impacted by this as well, because a lot of comics creators now depend on convention revenue, and many conventions are canceling or postponing. I think a lot of them are going to wind up canceling because we don't know how long this is going to last. So some, creative types are trying to do like online cons and that kind of thing, but it's hard. It's really hard. It's going to be very hard for creatives, I think, in the next couple of months. However, it's going to be really interesting to see how this changes things, because this might actually open up opportunities for people to work in animation or other creative fields and not actually have to relocate to Los Angeles. So there might be a bright side to this. I don't know. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about slight update on this ThunderCats Roar debacle. I'm going to talk about that because it turns out that what we did believe to be a leak yesterday is 100% true. Yes, Cartoon Network used Teen Titans Go to throw shade at ThunderCats fans who are not happy with ThunderCats Roar. And it gets worse than that. So we're going to talk about that too, I think, before we get into what's going on with all the animation studios right now. If you guys haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We're over 100,000 subs. We absolutely appreciate the support. So before we talk about that thing we can't talk about and how it's impacting the animation industry, right? This is a big deal. This is a very big deal. Let's just touch base with this really quick. Now, I've been in contact with some folks on Twitter who said that they believe ThunderCats Roar has already been canceled. They're just airing the episodes that were produced. And, normally I'm not rooting for people to lose their jobs, but I think this show is a very mean-spirited skewering of ThunderCats, the original ThunderCats show, and they triple down on that with the Teen Titans Go crossover, where they literally have OG Lion-O from the 1980s series, voice actor and all, telling the Teen Titans, telling ThunderCats Roar, telling the ThunderCats Roar crew that if the man babies, well, he doesn't call them man babies, but if people don't like ThunderCats Roar, they have poopy opinions and a poopy mouth, and they're terrible people. So Cartoon Network literally used a 1980s cartoon icon to bitch slap a good portion of cartoon fandom. That is not a good look. That is not a good look at all. And I thought maybe this wasn't real. I thought maybe somebody had subtitled some screenshots, because I'm like, they would never go there. Would they? Would they actually go there? And they absolutely did. And if you go out to Real CLOWNFISH TV on Twitter, I retweeted Stalgia, and they put the clip up, and my God, it's worse than I could have imagined. But it's even worse than that. It's even worse than that was this little gem here, which I missed. Now, after Lion-O descends from on high and, lectures the audience and how awful they are, we have a quick little clip with Snarf and 2011 Lion-O. Kind of funny, right? At least they got 2011 Lion-O in there, but Snarf's like, who are you? The show got canceled prematurely, and I think it was ahead of its time, honestly. If they had done ThunderCats like this, I don't think anybody would be complaining. I think it would go over really well. But down in the corner, I completely missed this. I actually thought this was one of the mutants, Jackalman or something, but if you actually look at it, it's Panthro. It's Panthro. Okay, now what's so disgusting about this is that Earl Hyman, the voice of Panthro, died. He died 2 years ago. So I don't know if it was meant to be, something very clever to, be like, R.I.P. Panthro, but it was done, I think, in very poor taste. I think it was really tacky to put the dismembered corpse of Panthro in the corner when Earl Hyman just passed away a couple of years ago. Very gross. Almost as gross as using Lion-O's voice actor, Larry Kenney, Lino himself, to attack old school fans. Just very poorly thought out. Now, I am going to try to confirm with some folks as to whether or not the show has been canceled. And this, kind of segues into a bigger issue right now with the entertainment industry, with animation. A lot of animation studios are requesting that their employees work from home because of that thing we can't talk about. And I think there's going to be a huge financial impact on the animation industry. And I think some studios might use the opportunity. They might use the opportunity to prune some shows that maybe aren't performing very well, or cancel some shows, and they can blame everything on illness. I think Disney's going to do the same thing too. Of course, they're going to be hemorrhaging money, but I think the financial impact of this could be very, very major. And it's not just exclusive to the American animation industry. In fact, the anime industry has been, dealing with this obviously for months now, and it's been pushing back a lot of shows, a lot of video games. It's really taken a toll on the entertainment industry, more so I think than a lot of other industries. Entertainment has been completely upended. It kind of reminds me of the writer's strike, from 10, 12 years ago, except worse. So I don't know what the fallout is going to be, but here's an article from Cartoon Brew talking about the places that are requesting that their employees stay home. So the impact of that thing we can't talk about on the animation world is widening, while events around the world continue to cancel or postpone upcoming editions. Studios are starting to take action. So here are the studios that are going to ask that you work from home. So this is interesting though. Rad Seacrest, is that his name? He works on Kipo in the Age of Wonder Beast, which I haven't seen yet. It actually looks pretty good for DreamWorks. Some are approaching the crisis from a different angle. Indie studio Thinko says it's weirdly incredibly ready. We've been remote friendly from the beginning. Rad Seacrest, creator of that show, Kipo, is it Kipo or Kippo? I haven't watched it yet, so I'm not sure. It looks pretty good though. I did see the trailer. Is taking a longer view. Wonder how many companies will switch to permanent work from home after this. That's a really good question, because what might happen, there are a lot of things that might happen. If everyone's forced to work from home, companies might realize it's actually easier for them to work remotely. It's not really ideal when you're working on a group project, I guess, like an animated series, but the flip side of that is everybody thinks they have to move to Los Angeles to break into animation. What if you can live in like Omaha and phone it in and still work with people out in California, or work with people in New York? That opens up a whole lot more doors for people to break into animation. And this is kind of what happened with comics. For the longest time, if you wanted to work in comic books, you had to move to New York. And then remote work, freelancing from your home studio became more and more common. And then eventually a lot of those publishers moved to the West Coast anyway, and they still work with people remotely all over the world. This might happen with animation too. The tools are there. The tools are there. So it's going to be really interesting to see what kind of long-term impact it has on animation. It's not clear at this point how service studios are handling the situation due to draconian security procedures implemented by Hollywood studios. Artists at service shops must rely on in-house servers and can't simply take their production work home. This is true. If you're working at a service studio in the US or abroad, please let us know how your studio is handling the situation. So here's what they know about the individual studios. Nickelodeon animation employees are being sent home on March 13 as a trial. When reached for comment, a spokesperson pointed Cartoon Brew to a recent media report about the actions taken by the studio. Yada yada, that thing we can't talk about. Netflix closed its main office in LA on March 12th after an employee was suspected to be sick. Netflix declined to comment. Update: according to social media posts by artists working at Netflix Animation, the studio has asked all artists to work from home until at least Monday, March 23rd. Walt Disney Animation and Pixar, representative of Disney, confirmed to Cartoon Brew that domestic Disney company employees who are able to work from home are being asked to do so, including those at the Walt Disney Studios, Walt Disney Television, ESPN, direct-to-consumer parks, etc. Artists at Pixar who are not in production are working from home. Now, funny story, and you can go out to YouTube, you can go out to Google, you can Google this. The only reason we have Toy Story 2, and possibly the only reason we still have Pixar, is because an employee worked from home. One of their employees, and I forget who it was off the top of my hand, I believe she was on maternity leave, and she had a copy of Toy Story 2 working at home. Now, we're talking back in the 90s, right? So this was not a very common thing. Anyway, long story short, the master copy of Toy Story 2 at Pixar got gone, got deleted, got obliterated. And the only thing that saved Toy Story 2 was that this remote worker had a copy of it. So it's pretty funny how that works out. Go out and Google that story. It's really interesting. DreamWorks is not on a mandatory shutdown, but is strongly encouraging those who can to work from home. You know, so this is interesting. Some jobs can't be done at home, though. You know, they can't. Warner Animation Group said some staff is working from home. Again, not everyone can do it. Blizzard is implementing a work from home policy for U.S. employees in California and Texas. Again, you know, what could potentially happen? This is not just animation. You know, Warner Media, NBC Universal, Amazon, Netflix, Sony, latest studio to okay working from home. The office is still open. You know, the anime industry right now, you know, they're losing time because they've had to close down studios. Things are getting pushed back. I don't know how many of their employees are working from home, but it is affecting game releases, anime releases. We know that Hollywood is pushing releases back. They're stopping production on movies. What if this does become the new normal? You know, what if Rad Seacrest here is right? What if this becomes the new normal and everybody just starts working from home after this because companies are like, hey, this isn't bad? And what happens if all these conventions that got canceled? What if people are like, we really didn't need them anyway? Because we've got computers. You know, we've got computers. We can do online conventions or we can talk to each other via, you know, Skype or whatever. We don't really need to do as many conventions. So, I mean, would that be a good thing or a bad thing? I think it would open up a lot of opportunities for people who maybe don't live in New York or LA or whatever. And if you can live anywhere, you know, the cost of living isn't really an issue. Not like it would be living in California or New York. But then the flip side is, if everybody's working digitally and everything is done via computer, which it pretty much already is, right? You know, an EMP could take us out, take us down longer than a virus could. So I don't know. But we'll keep you guys posted on what's going on. I think a lot of things are going to be late. I think things are going to change permanently in the entertainment industry, in the comic book industry, in the animation industry for sure. After this, I joked on Twitter. I said that I thought that the sickness was the snap, and we're going to be looking at the blip in a few months when all this blows over, and life is kind of going back to normal, but not quite the same way it was before. So very interesting times, right? I'm going to wrap it up. We'll talk to you guys later. Hey guys, thanks for watching CLOWNFISH TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.